Ooh, welcome back to the Brazen Brits. My name is Lawrence.
Mine's Natalie.
That's our best, scariest impression. So welcome back to another collaboration, monthly collaboration, where we talk about a specific subject. A whole bunch of us are from different YouTubers, different walks of life, different rigs, different experiences. We all talk about the same subject. And this week we have a special guest. It is the Grand Shamrock Tour. So it's John and Caroline.
Yes.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us. And the subject this month, you said this week, the subject this month is scariest things about RVing.
Really makes me wonder. Ooh, it makes me wonder.
Alright, so we thought we would share a few of the scariest things that have happened.
Scary stories. We weren't going to get fire and be all like, ooh, but we ran out of time.
Yeah, honestly, and it's such a nice day, we thought we'd do it here. Because the other thing is, if we did that, it might actually scare people, and that's not our aim.
We don't want to scare people.
So I hope my little intro there wasn't too scary for you. Alright, so the first thing, by far, probably one of the things that freaked me out the most is we were in Little Rock last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, and we're right in the centre. It's a really cool RV park right in the centre of Little Rock on the river. Downtown. And a lovely place. Internet was fantastic, by the way. Their Wi-Fi was fantastic.
Yes.
And we loved it, except for we saw a lot of police and fire trucks and ambulances all just up the road, literally about 100 feet.
Yeah.
Maybe 200 feet from our rig. I was working away, Natalie came running in and
Videoing
said,
it, and I look at all the ambulances.
Yeah.
I might still have that footage.
Yeah, we'll have to dig that out and overlay it. But they were fishing out a body from the river from a murder.
And more specifically, it was a murder of a tourist. And I'd just been out walking the dogs around the town, and I'm like, yay.
Yeah.
That was pretty scary.
And then, so that was one scary thing, but the other scary thing about that is it was like something like the 18th body they had pulled out of the river that year. So yeah, we might not be going back to Little Rock for a little while.
Sorry. So the second one, we do actually have a video about. Again, this was probably about 3 years ago. We stayed at a campground, and nothing that bad happened. Well, a couple of weird things happened, which I'll let Lawrence tell you, but it's the first time we ever felt really creeped out, like unsafe and creeped out, and the only time we've lost money because we just left. We got 3 days into it and we're like, we need to find somewhere else.
It's really strange because there was nothing wrong with this place, which is why we're not going to say where it is, because the owners have done nothing wrong. There was nothing wrong with the campsite. Just to us, we had a horrible feeling from the moment we turned up.
Something wasn't right.
Yeah, and the people were really nice to us.
True.
However, the weirdest thing about it, which didn't freak us out, we were already creeped out before, but one of our neighbours in the campsite, we were there for 2 nights, I think. The neighbour on the campsite woke us up the next morning and said, "We're sorry about all the noise last night. It was my fault. And I hope we didn't wake you." And I'm like, I didn't hear anything. Like, neither of us heard anything, and Natalie's a light sleeper. Anyway, I said, "No, why? What happened?" And he said, "Well, I got drunk, and then I had an argument with my neighbour. It's been a long-running argument with him about something, so I drove my truck up," and he was a full-time liver there. You know, he had a flower bed out front, a really nice spot, but he backed his truck up and then did a burnout and ruined his whole front yard of his rig, and then they had a big fight, and then he wheeled off up the road and then went and sobered up, and then the next morning he was out there at 6 o'clock. Give him his dues, he was out there at 6 o'clock fixing it, because you know, he took responsibility for it. So that was a bit weird, but no, overall that bit wasn't freaked us out. It was just the general feeling of the RV park. So we left on New Year's Eve. It was we left on New Year's Eve and didn't have any idea where we were going. So as we were driving down the road, Natalie managed to find a cancellation at the Pine Island KOA. So anyway, that was a fun story, but that was honestly one of the freakiest things in our RV journey so far. The most one with the gut feeling of something that's not right. So I'm sure you all get that as well. Follow your gut. Okay, the final one we have, which you're all going to laugh at me about, So, for a little while, for some reason, the main lights in the RV, whenever we set, well, they were flickering. We couldn't figure out what it was. And then somehow, it always only seemed to really happen when we were talking about our dog, Roxy, who passed away 2 years ago in January.
It was very coincidental. We're like,
every time we say her
again.
name, the lights flicker. Anyway, this went on for weeks. Yeah. And then eventually it started getting worse, and they were flickering a lot more. And obviously it wasn't because we were saying Roxy's name. So we just learned to turn the lights off, and luckily we have the LED lights that I installed in there, so that gave us enough light for, you know, chilling out and just general living. So I thought, right, I've got some time, I'm going to troubleshoot this and figure out what's going wrong. So I was taking the lights off, having a look, checking it. It was obviously some kind of wiring. I did some work in the back office, you know, if we saw my office conversion that I did from the bunkhouse, and thought, well, maybe I did something when I was doing that. Nope, nothing. Anyway, I thought, right, it must be in the electric panel. Let me just check. It might be something like the fuse. And bear in mind, we'd been living with this for months, literally 2.5 months we'd been living with this. So as I went to take the fuse out, I slightly propped my thumb on the fuse, and it fixed everything. So for 2 months, 2.5 months, we were
haunted rig.
We were in a haunted rig with a strobe light on, all because the fuse, the 12-volt fuse, wasn't quite sat properly in there. So as soon as I literally didn't even put any pressure on, and it fixed it. So if you have an issue like this, the moral of this story is, one, don't be a dumbass like me. And if you have an issue like this, just go do some quick troubleshooting, because it could be something really, really simple, which it was.
More embarrassing than scary.
Learnt. Okay, so there are a few stories that have freaked us out in our RV. So now I want to talk about other things that scare us that aren't... We're not talking Halloween scary, I'm sorry, but although some Halloween stuff does scare me, especially when children come to our rig. That's pretty scary. Well, the first thing I worry about is the security of an RV. We've never had any issues with this. It's very rare anything happens. We do have security cameras around and inside our RV so that we can monitor it when we're away, or we can monitor the outside when we're inside and something's going on. But it's things like, it is not hard to break into an RV.
No.
Like, the lock on the door is just nothing. You could probably just get a screwdriver and jam the door open.
When we remember to lock it.
If we remember to lock it, yeah. And so, like, the windows are easy. I mean, I'm not talking about smashing the windows, but you can quite easily just, like, peel the window off, or, you know, it's
True.
just...
They're easy to break
structure.
into.
So I always worry about that about the RV. You know, our trucks and our cars, they have the security on those are so much better than an RV. So that's one thing I worry about, and I think it's something that the industry can do better. You know, it's not like you can get a deadbolt for your RV door or something like... Well, you probably can, actually, now I've said that. I haven't even looked into it, but you know, I just that always worries me.
Yeah, that's
especially if I go away for whatever and Natalie's in the rig on her own, even though you'd have to get put through jacks. You thought I was going to say Opie.
I wasn't sure what you were going to say then. Just get through me. Good luck. Okay, things that scare me on the road is wildlife, and that's not just when I'm hiking, it's sometimes just around the campground. I mean, we've been at places where, you know, I've just gone to let dogs out for, you know, a pee or whatever, and there's alligators in the lake, and it's like, oh, hello. And then, yeah, the last 2 in Maine we had, there was a resident bear, and it's like, well, now I don't want to go out of sight because I don't know what this bear's gonna do. And yeah, that's like probably my biggest fear on the road is bears, coyotes, alligators.
Even things like people have walked out of their rig and there's been a raccoon under their stairs and stuff, and, you know, hopefully they run away, but they can hurt if they go for you.
Yeah, true.
So for me, another one is propane. I think, you know, we've talked about this before. I really am concerned about propane and fires. My biggest concern, which I've seen a few times, is when you have a blowout. If you have a blowout, your propane line typically runs along there, and so if the blowout goes and takes out a few things and the tyre shreds, it can rip that propane line, and then the tyres actually have like a metal strands in them, so if that's chinking off the floor, then that can light the propane. Admittedly, you're going down the road, so you're not in it, but it's still... all of your stuff is in here.
Yeah,
you're never going to disconnect it quick enough if there's a fire to get it, so that means your truck is gone, so you all have to get out of the truck. And just propane in general. Years ago, Roxy, our dog that died a couple of years ago, she actually jumped up when we were out. We left some bacon. She was old, right? We left some bacon grease on the hob. She jumped up and accidentally hit the thing, so when we got back to the rig, the alarm was going off. and she had turned the propane on. So it's
That
not
was
even
a scary day.
Yeah, that was really scary. We opened all the windows and everything, got the dogs out. Man, she must have had the worst headache in the world because it was bad.
We turn the gas off every time now. We don't even
we
mess
turn the
about with
propane
it.
off every time now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not just a fire; it's that as well. And so just make sure that your propane alarm is on and working.
Can I follow up with that as well?
Yeah.
Another kind of scary story. Check your recalls, because our neighbour, his RV burnt down.
Oh, it did.
And I'm not quite sure it's something to do with the flame in the...
It was his fridge. His fridge had a recall, and it was something to do with the flame.
Yeah.
It wasn't working, or it did work, or something. Anyway, it started a fire and
Luckily
burnt down his fifth wheel.
Luckily he wasn't in it, but I think his cat was.
Yes, his pets were. Yeah.
So just be careful of that.
And his tax paperwork, he was very annoyed about that.
I'm sure he was.
And just to add to that this is one of the reasons why not only are they amazing people, but we always push gas stop. So we have gas stop on our thing. So if there is a leak, something like that, it cuts the gas off straight away. So we love those guys, and we think the product's great, and it does give us some peace of mind.
Yeah.
And then the final one that I'm sure everyone has some kind of fear about, but no matter how good a driver you are or anything like that, when you're RVing, you're probably traveling around a lot, which means you're on the road a lot driving, which means that the chances of you being in an accident are much higher. So another thing I'm very conscious about is if we do long travel days, fatigue sets in, lack of concentration. I struggle with that sometimes, which is why we've shortened our travel days most of the time.
Yeah.
And so we just try and decrease the chances of us being in any accident. And honestly, it's not even about even being just hurt, it's just the hassle when you're in an RV and that is your house and your truck is your only source of vehicle. Just problems with that is tough. The Wags, they had an accident. Someone went in the back of Leslie, and it's taken them months to get their truck fixed because they had reservations and plans and places to be and things to do, and it just screwed all of that up. So it took them months to get that fixed. So just the hassle, I just don't want the hassle of all of that, so that scares me.
Well, I guess that's pretty much it for us.
Yes.
I can't wait to see other people's scary
I know. This is
stories.
very, very personal to people's experiences, so I'm really looking forward to this. So anyway, so I'm going to leave a list of the channels all below. We're going to leave the description, the channels in the description. We will leave a playlist up here as well that you can go and see. Actually, I think it's that side. I can never remember. So you can go and check out their videos and see what they say. Again, welcome to John and Caroline. Thank you for being a special guest this month. That's the Grand Shamrock Tour, so go and check them out. And if you like this, don't forget to like. If you want to share it to someone who may be interested in our crazy stories, then go ahead and do that. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the thanks button because Natalie loves it. And if you would like to become a member and join a couple of tits, Natalie and myself, and become a Braziere, you can hit the join button. Thank you to everyone below who has already done that. We really do appreciate you. Anything else?
Yes, there's one more thing. We keep forgetting to ask, but we need your ideas for the collaboration because we've covered so much in the last year and a half with all of our friends. But we're starting to get to the point where it's like, well, what do you guys want us to collaborate about? What topics are you interested in? So please in the comments, just drop down some ideas. Have a look back through the previous collaborations because sometimes people are like, oh, your top 3 things. I'm like, we did that.
Yeah.
Although they are kind of things, if we've changed rigs or going forward, you can always update.
True.
But yeah, go ahead and just drop that in the comments. It really helps us out.
Yeah, and we'll probably feature it if you do. Anything else?
No, we can go.
We will
celebrate Halloween.
All right, we will see you on Sunday at Sunday at noon for our normal viewing. If not, then we'll see you next month with hopefully one of the subjects that you suggest.